Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Um, and at the buzzers, welcome.
Welcome to all of our buzzer beaters. We got all goods in the chat. Andrew says audio, video is good. We are good to go.
Okay.
Welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since June of 2023, been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Top Step since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some my experience, perhaps wisdom, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Coach. And you are all our audience. Let us know how your day ended up today. Were you up on the day, down on the day, anything that you could learn from the day? And we'll get into these markets. I, for myself, traded pretty well on fast markets. And then, for the rest of the day, kind of got chopped up. But decent green day. How was your day, Coach?
Um, very unchanged. I
There you go.
didn't make many trades. I lost in the yen, made some in the S&P, but overall, not much. I didn't trade much. I noticed the equities, even though we had a large range, but we're finding balance.
Yep.
Uh, there's a That's a balanced profile, balanced day. So it seems to me this market on the downside is starting to find some value, or people have lost all their money trading and we have balance.
Nothing else to do.
So yeah, nat
Uh,
gas. Someone shorted a micro nat gas. Wow, nice.
nice. Saw
That
that
was
was
a
one of our
big
biggest
move.
percentage movers. So
Yeah.
good stuff here. Shout out to Linus Rain up in 2 XFAs. Got to shout her out because she is a lunatic. Shout out to the lunatics. Yasmin up on the day for a change. Shubam, I like that. Learn something new every day. Andrew read 97 bucks and proud of it. Rufus traded minis on the XFA and didn't do bad. In type of markets, trading minis, we've been making the suggestion to scale down, size down, but if you can do it, figure it out. More power to you, Rufus. Nice trading. Psalm 91 up 381. Yellow Baggins up 1K on a couple of combines. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good trading, everyone. Good day today. And just took a payout for Brad Sims putting money in your pockets. That is why we do this, everybody. So shout out to all the traders. If you didn't have a great day, uh, you know, shouldn't even say that. If you had a red day and it was managed, that's a great day. Managed losses are a pivotal part of this game, coach. We talk about it all the
Huh.
time, but if you can manage how much you lose, that should be a good day. You did your job.
But you more than did your job. You had a successful day.
Yep.
Taking risk doesn't mean, if you're focused just on not losing or just making money, you're not really executing a trading plan. So great. I like to hear that. We have no control whether the day is going to be profitable enough. We can control our decision making in a process that we repeat. But once we do that, we can start trading consistently.
100%. Let's take a look at these markets. There are 35 different markets that we can trade with Topstep accounts, not just the equities. And today, to the downside, we had corn futures down 1.86%, micro Ethereum futures down 3.83%, and natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, at 8.92%. It was 60 degrees in New York yesterday, and I think the trade was buy nat gas in the winter. But now that it's getting a little warmer out, I wonder if the trade is to fade it. Do you recognize any seasonality in that trade for you,
Oh,
Coach, or Coach Hoop if you're in the chat?
there's absolutely it's a huge seasonality, but it can be both summer and winter.
Okay.
Natural gas is I believe it's the one of the biggest um, commodity used to generate electricity.
Mm, makes sense for air
So in the
conditioning.
summer, we're air conditioning, um, but it definitely has seasonality. But without that, I think there's a lot of political news in there too. Canada being a large producer of natural gas, maybe the atmosphere on the political side is waning a little bit, or at least a premium until the next tweet comes out. So we will see. Um, but to me, it seems to be moving with the trade war.
Okay.
Um, because Canada, as well as Australia, they're referred to as commodity currencies. It's because of their large natural resources. So, um, wow. Well, let's start from last night.
That's a nice trade. Let me finish the quote board real quick.
No, yeah.
We did have platinum up 1.78%, RBOB gasoline futures up 2.15%, and crude oil up 2.19% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To talk about our big four, we had just mentioned crude up 2.17%, the S&P is up 0.4%, gold up 0.68%, and the Nasdaq up 0.96%. The most roundabout 1% day that I think I've ever seen. Uh, I don't know
Yeah.
what the Nasdaq was doing today. Actually, we do know it, but we'll talk about it. But let's talk about nat gas, right? We haven't been talking about crude oil too much, but natural gas, one of the biggest percentage movers to the downside. We focus a lot on the equities during Topstep TV. Coach, I got a daily chart up on natural gas right now. What are we looking at on this daily? We'll do a quick analysis of this, and then we'll get into the equities.
Well, what stands out is that wick. I mean, that's
Yeah.
out of the out of the encyclopedia of technical analysis, and that all happened in a half hour
So
bar.
that did that happen in a half hour? Because that's a daily
Yes,
chart. Oh yeah, it did. Oh wow.
and that was from a gap opening. I
Yep.
saw then what yesterday. If we put a VWAP just on that to see if it can fill the gap. Well, it didn't do it yesterday. Um, but what what is in the middle of that candle that you like to put that green line and inside the shade?
Yep.
50%.
50%.
Um, but that's the highs of the contract highs. I can't say all-time highs, contract highs. Um, and if we remember yesterday, there was a shouting match between Canada and the United States about tariffs.
Yep.
Um, so it seems to have calmed down. But technically speaking, what did we cross last night?
Got under the 200 moving average. So we actually crossed it yesterday on the
Hmm.
close yesterday. But 200 moving average, this white line on a 30-minute chart. And if we know what Coach Paul has been talking about is under that 200 moving average, looking to sell. And the market agreed today for sure. I don't recall who it was that said they took the short in their personal account, but really nice short there. Um,
Yeah, and by the way, a mini or a micro natural gas would be unless you have cash of about a 50 to $100,000. Don't trade the big one. Um, but here's a classic example of we look at the VWAP was flat overnight. Look,
yep.
there was, I mean, literally flat line. Um, price trading above that. What- So let's see what time it started breaking where VWAP started bending.
Here's right around 7:30 a.m. Eastern time where we see a little bit of a spike in volume here, and we start to pick up, start to break that. Price close outside the range, VWAP close outside the range, volume start to pick up a little bit. Um, Here is nine. Actually, that's 8:30. The open, if you will, is 9 a.m. Right, same time that crude oil opens. Uh, but when that volume starts to pick up, Coach, it was, you know, the
Well,
story was told.
maybe it's not. I mean, maybe you just have a flair for the obvious, but if I'm just looking at price without the VWAP and those moving averages, it'd be very hard to sell.
Mm,
Um, because it's look how much it's gone down.
right.
So we talk about price and volume. You get a better picture. Um, and that's complete liquidation, or possibly, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's the end. The producers of natural gas are like, here, we got some natural gas for you, or they're hedging. What we don't know, and we can't say for sure who did the selling, but what we can measure is the result of buyers versus sellers. So there was a clear example of volume moving price. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, this is just this type of flow, regardless of the market that it is. This type of flow is the flow that you don't want to fight. We try to, a lot of times it's, hey, how do we get into trending markets this way? You guys can kind of see what I'm doing here, just anchoring a VWAP to any high volume. We talk about doing this all the time, and this is in any trending market, really. When we see high volume spikes, something similar to this, anchoring VWAP to it, and then seeing how the market responds to that high volume gives us some opportunities, and that's the way to get into it. Now we never know what uh, the bottom of a move is going to be, but at least this gives you an opportunity to limit your risk and give you some trade location, right? We talk about not swimming in front of the shark. If let's get a let's find a
Don't
shark
start
here,
singing the song.
right? But if our shark
Th-
is down here and we're looking to sell it, right? If we sell it here, this bounce might get us up. This is almost a 1% bounce in natural gas, right? That might take you out of the trade. But if you can wait, not sell it in front of the shark, shark is telling you which way it's going by VWAP pointing down, and you can get behind it. Now we can sell and be in a safer position to take a trade, right? How often do we get trades or in a trending market like this, right? Where I think I saw someone in the chat the other day when we had the S&P and the Nasdaq down huge say I made money buying it and lost money selling it. The way you can lose money selling a market like this is selling it at the low when we get that inevitable feeling of, oh, it's already down 4%, I missed the move. Damn it, I'm just going to take it here. As soon as you feel that, check for a VWAP and wait for a retracement to it, because it's not a guarantee that the trade is going to work, but it may give you better trade location for you to be able to stay in some of the trend. All right.
it's also, can you change that to just the daily without the overnight?
Sure. There you go.
Just okay. Now, let's say we don't know what happened. We don't know a gap. We don't know the drama that was involved, and all we just opened it up in the morning
Mhm.
without any background, and we frame it out and put VWAP. I'm doing this now with equities, and it helps me define it a lot better.
Yep.
Because really, on day trading, if you're going to trade the day session, that's where the highest volume comes in. And if we're going to measure volume, this is the most important volume. So using this example, we don't know the dramatics of what happened to the left. It's in the present. Can we make it right away? We're seeing, wow, there's sellers in this market, and we're not getting reactive buying. So show me a high volume buy candle that's higher than, well, we don't get that until later in the day, and that's on the close.
Right. Is nat gas in rollover? Good question.
It's always in rollover. It
It rolls monthly,
expires
right?
every month, but no, it's not. It's in the middle of the month. So good question. Next, it will be next week, but it's perennially in rollover that the natural gas will trade volume all the way to 3 years out. It's a mature, large market. It's a great question.
Good question. Here's another great question. Michael Ting. Everyone always talks about VWAP, but I've never heard anyone break it down. Care to break down why VWAP is so important? Michael, you came to the right place, my friend. Uh, now, this might be your first time joining here. We talk about VWAP all the time. Uh, Phrase that I use all the time, that volume moves the market, and VWAP, in my opinion, is the market. Right? If you need, if you're interested in learning, we talk about it a lot here. A great book written by Brian Shannon on anchoring VWAP. But the way I read it is, and the way we talk about it here is, VWAP is the opinion of the market backed by money, right? In order for the market to move, you need volume to do it. And if, you know, this line here is slanted to the downside, to the upside, that's the market showing you its opinion about price, right? In this case, we can see it acting as a resistance and selling it the entire time. We're going to switch over to the equities now, coach. Let's go over to the equity charts. I'm going to go over to a 30-minute on, let's go to the S&P. Put the extended trading hours back on. If we anchor a VWAP here in the S&Ps, the opinion of the market is that it likes these prices, right? It's flat for the most part. Right? We do get some extensions later in the day, but if we look at the overnight session and we're asking the market what it thinks about these prices, right? Not just from a price perspective, but from a volume perspective, going with the assumption that volume moves the market, there's not much of a directional bias from larger market participants, right? Who are going to move the market. Hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead, coach.
Um, well, to answer that question, and Jonathan Wilbanks, who made a comment, VWAP is the bridge between technical and fundamental analysis.
I like that.
Um, first of all, what does it mean? It's volume weighted average price. Okay, it's an equation that takes in the volume and averages it at every price. It's more dynamic than price alone. Not all prices are equal. Now, the genesis of the volume weighted average price came from the brokerage side of the business. Uh, the brokers would fill orders for large entities, hedge funds, banks, and I had an execution deck in the grains for funds who don't want to put a large order on the opening. They might have, just to make it simple, 1,000 contracts to sell. If they put it in all at once, they're going to create chaos. Um, so They spoon feed it through the day. Whatever the size is, say, okay, every 10 minutes, sell 50. It smooths out the price action. That's in a simple manner. So over time, large volume will dictate the slope of the VWAP of the average versus a moving average. It has volume. It takes volume to move it. So we look at patterns to see what the big orders are doing, or as Coach Jay says, the shark. Our job is not to make markets. That it's not.
You can get paid a lot being a great follower.
Right. We're there. It helps read what the bigger players are doing. Early today, when on the first half an hour, on the highest volume, what did it do to VWAP?
Brought it lower.
Brought it lower.
So
That is the
actually,
trend. Yeah, the volume trend.
yep. So we
Go
have
ahead.
I've sorry, I have 2 VWAPs here, coach. One from the news, which is this gonna be this red one here. Let's actually change the colors. Let's make this one blue. Uh,
Oh,
we're gonna
make it a pink. Blue
hold
means buying to me. I'm old guy from the trading
on.
pit.
You see my charts here, right? All the blue candles are to the upside. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm confusing myself here, but we're just gonna do something real quick. Just quick volume. We'll make it orange. And then I'm gonna take off how do we hide the control Z is how we get that back. All right. So we have volume from the overnight, right? Pretty much flat. We can't see price, but volume pretty much flat. Right. We started to increase. We had the news up here, and then we have this one anchored to the news. From that news event, what is the market's opinion? Right, with volume, traded it lower until it got to a point where it found balance, and then we have balance for the rest of the day. Right, we found equilibrium where the market is happy. Now, if we bring the candles back, we see in that price action all of the chop that we had here. Now, when price trades lower than this volume, the way that it did here, right? And let's take a look at just from the news. From the news, we have the orange one, right? From the overnight session, we have the yellow one. This orange line never crosses the yellow, but price does, right? So although price kept going, and you don't necessarily need a whole lot of volume to move the markets, right? One trade can move a market. One lot can move the market if that's all that's there on the books. But if the price action is happening on lower volume, the likelihood that we get sustained price action in that direction is lower, right? This move lower happened on decreasing volume. We can see it here in this chart. Decreasing volume, decreasing price. You want price to be you want volume to be increasing as price is going lower if you're holding onto these shorts. And when we found a low, which was right around settlement, um, right around 55.50 is when we bounce because there isn't enough convinced volume to bring this lower, and we can see it in price. We can see it in where this VWAP stopped from the point of that news.
Thank you. Also, I like to see it. Is the selling stopped down there?
Yep.
Because what was pushing it down? What again? And I'll think about this, and I'm going to just be. What was driving this down? Price driving it down, or sellers driving it down?
Sellers.
Okay, yeah,
Price is
price
just the
can't drive
advertisement.
itself. Yeah. So the pressure, thinking like an engineer, the pressure of the selling stopped. And look at VWAP. It's going lower. As soon as that stopped, well, now we can look at the bottom and see that the volume on those bars on the bottom were the total volume was what? Decreasing. So when we did get buying, it was while it was lower volume than the sellers, price popped. Now, I don't consider that. I don't want to buy. I myself. There's difference between buying and getting long.
Right. You
Two
could be
different
buying the
things,
clothes. Could be buying the
right?
clothes.
That's the difference between short covering or buy. Here for my and thinking like with VWAP, the sellers. We have evidence. We have some footprints here that say, "Oh, the selling stopped." So what it can do and enhance your trading edge. So in other words, when I see that, I'm either going to cover my shorts, but I'm not going to get short in the hole. The selling stopped, whatever. It's something that gives you an idea of what the larger institutions are doing. It's and it takes it's by the way, it takes a good month of observations to start seeing it well. It can be a struggle, but sooner or later, you keep at it, the light will go on.
All right, we got some questions in here. Uh, Chauncey says, when volume doesn't leave the range, I'm talking about VWAP not leaving the range, but is moving lower, is it safe to just stay in the position so long as you're not over leveraged? Yeah, I mean, again, just because you don't have, there was a long that Dakota took earlier, actually off a settlement. So I got short in the S&P. Sorry, I got short in the Nasdaq at where did I get short? I think I got short from 490s, pretty much the low of the at tail end of this move. I got short from 490s when we couldn't hold above 500, and I took the trade off at settlement, right? Which is down here. Dakota took a long here, and if we look at the volume, and in this case, from that low, the volume that we did have was supportive. But let's say this wasn't this way, and we got extended. There's no reason to say take the trade off, but I am going to be conscious of a potential return to this VWAP at some point, right? Especially if we get overextended. So you don't have to take your trade off, right? And even with the long that Dakota took down here I think he took it at 420, and he took some off at 520s. At that point, this is what the market looked like. And I think I said to him on the stream, it's like, yeah, I think that's a good spot to start scaling out of your position because price is moving higher, but volume isn't necessarily going with it. That doesn't mean you have to take your whole position off, but I'm thinking position management if there's no other flow behind my trade. Um, I mean, there was never really a reason to take the full position off, but you can find spots to kind of trail behind. But then we can see what happens when we start to get candles above that volume average. Here's one here, for example, and this is a 100-point candle in 3 minutes. Uh,
That is a tweet candle, I believe.
and that's what's been doing it. That's what that's what's been doing it. It's pretty insane. Does rollover limit the amount of sellers until after rollover? Uh, Coach, I'm gonna throw that one to you. I'm gonna say no.
Ask the question again.
Does rollover
Does
limit
rollover?
the amount of sellers until after rollover?
No. The only people worried about rollover are those with open positions. Now, they might decide that they're going to go where the most volume is. And right now it's still in March. Now, they might decide to do June. What it can do is tweak the volume in the March, but the rollover are a large majority of it is for open positions need to move to the next expiring contract. That is not going to stop someone who needs to sell 1,000. They'll be they'll have to join the spread if they stay with it. So I'm I don't let it affect me. Um, the only person that really needs to be that concerned are the spreaders. Um, what's going to happen if you're trading in the day when that rollover happens in June? You still you're going to look at that contract. Let's bring up June.
I can't do that here.
Hmm,
Not on
I'm not.
Topstep X.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. So guess what? You don't even. It's not an issue. What? And I'll tell you why I don't believe it's an issue. You're trading that day. We are day trading. Focus. I'm to the point. I don't look at overnight. I look at the day when it starts. I just remove it because it's a new start. It's a new session. I want to focus on that and how it's developing. All right. So when it you won't even notice. If I think most people, if we didn't even say, "Hey, it's June now," you wouldn't notice because you don't have to worry about it in the platform. It does it for you. Um, if you're using op- o- open interest analysis for your trading, then it matters a lot more. But for our uses, I wouldn't worry about it that much. Uh,
Let's see here. Yeah, this was pretty much a two-sided trade. I think, like we talked about in the equities, maybe waiting for jobless claims and PPI tomorrow. Maybe waiting for Michigan sentiment on Friday. Maybe waiting for the next update in the tariff saga. But maybe we're building a base coach a little bit in the equities right now. Um, Go out to a daily really quick, and then we can switch over to some other markets. Maybe building a little bit of a base here. Uh, we will see
yeah.
what is to come.
Well, we have yesterday's wick down at the lows of the move. We have um, today's volume was really small, so I don't. I consider it more of short covering or lack of selling, follow through selling. Um, but maybe we're on a 3 bar reversal. Does that look like a three? It could be a 3 bar reversal.
It would have to close above 19,686, 19,690. But yeah, could potentially be, or this could be this the continuation lower. Immediately, my eyes go
Yeah.
to this candle here. We rejected at 50% of it and trading lower. If we look at a 30-minute chart, we are still under that 200 moving average on the 30-minute. Shout out to Coach Paul for this 200 moving average. Uh, Interesting stuff. Interesting
Yeah.
stuff for sure. Let's we got a question about the British pound, so we'll try to get to that as well. Uh,
Here we
gold,
go.
gold, really quick. I just want to do gold. Looks like it might finally be trying to break out. We've been talking about this balance range that gold has been in over the past 2 weeks or so. We're starting to use that 200 moving average as a support. We can see it today on this 30-minute chart here. The 20 and the 50 starting to get some separation, so maybe we continue the trend higher in gold, or maybe we just stay in this range. Uh, Upside target would be 2970 if we continue to break higher, and then of course 33,000s up above. What are you seeing in gold, Coach?
I'll go back to that daily, and then put on a um, line chart. Uh, wow, it disappeared. You have some magical thing you're doing there?
Uh,
Oh, all right.
there it
Now,
is.
easy way. to put on a trend line. Let's go for get a trend line from the all-time high. And I use the close, or settlement to be more specific. All right, then use now. Go to go up. No, that one is no to the right to the previous highs. Now extend that. No, go down to the previous highs of the of no no no.
This
Where
might
it
be
hit
easier
the
with candlesticks.
all right, go with these. But I'm gonna go ahead. Um, from the all-time high, those highs. There's a string of highs right there.
Okay,
Put it
these
right
here.
through there. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Now go back to the line chart. It's so much easier to see a trend. What happened here? We broke the trend line from the highs. We're above the 20-day moving average. Um, this is on lower volume, so that's pretty good for the buy side. I mean, it took less than average volume in this rally. That looks pretty good. That looks like we're poised to go make an all-time high.
Looking pretty good. We talk about being bullish in gold. Uh, Maybe this is now the time to start buying it. Of course, anything can and will happen, but I will be watching this. I've been trying to cut out some of my overnight trading, but I'll be on slow markets tonight with Dakota. So we'll be taking a look at this. 2950 is right above here where we are. If I look to the left really quick, there is this high volume that we're kind of trading through right now. And kind of rejecting it. So
Yeah, let's see tonight.
interesting spot for gold.
Yeah, most of that was God. That overnight trade was tough.
I mean, there really wasn't much of one. Uh, it chopped you up if you were looking for direction, but let's look at what VWAP was doing. It was flat, right? Flat VWAP. Here's the first 30-minute opening range, and you're a range trader. This is exactly what you want to see. Any extensions outside of this are your opportunities to buy back into the range or sell back into the range. But that's a tough trade. Usually, when the charts look like this for me, it's telling me to stay out. Telling me to
All right.
stay out. All right. Crude oil. We did an energy already, but crude is one of our big four, so we'll take a look. Same thing here. That 200 moving average. Again, shout out to Coach Paul. Is starting to flatten out at these lows. We came down to the demand level that we were in all of last year, down near 65s, and it looks like we're maybe finding a little bit of a bid from here. Maybe it's short covering. Maybe it's new buying coming in. Pretty light volume on these moves, but really nice trade today if you were able to catch it. I know the house account was long Crude, so shout out to Hoag and JD. Let's go down to where they're looking at it for the most part because they, on the opening call, are looking to take opening range trades in crude oil and gold. Those markets do open a little bit earlier than everything else. So we'll go down to here it is on a 3-minute chart. Here's the opening range here. Establishes a range, coach. Volume leaves the range pretty early, and even if we come back and check it, market respects this volume. I think we did have inventories out. Here's inventories here. It's a different color. A nice trend day in crude.
And just like crude, there are sharp movements, but that didn't change the shape of the VWAP.
Yep.
Um, now We had a J trade. Can anybody out there spot the J trade?
I think I see it. High volume at these lows. Catch a VWAP to it. Doesn't tick lower. And once we get a close above that range, it's a pretty nice trade here.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Exhausted selling. That selling was a flat, literally a flash. Um, Probably a lot. I wouldn't say that is they're hitting stops because hitting stops would be mostly retail. Retail hitting stops, that volume wouldn't be that big. I think that was maybe a hedge. But I stopped thinking that way a long time ago. It's like the sellers tried to sell it, or no, they didn't try to sell it. They sold it. Where do they fail? Above that high. And then you can define your risk. So that was a classic J trade.
Yeah, it was. Held it, came back and checked it again. Seller said, nope, we're good. We're going to continue going to the upside. So, really nice move in crude oil. Let's take a look at the British pound, a market we have not looked at in a little while. And let's see. Let's see. Maybe you might be putting us onto something here. Here's a daily chart, coach. What are you looking at the British pound? You got your moving averages up here.
Uh, well, we're from a trend point of view, we've gotten over the 200. We're over. That looks pretty bullish. Um, Mostly a function of dollar weakness. Um, but I would set up on a day trade looking for places where selling fails that can drive that higher, or urgency on the buy side. I'm not looking to sell it. So I look at it, but that looks pretty good. I mean, look at that trend. It's above the 200. Um, but again, that can change. Much like the Japanese yen has been my nemesis lately, but I have to trade it according to my plan. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only person who does that.
Trying to bring back up the. Come on. Learn how to
British pound.
spell. There we go. Looking at it on a 30-minute chart, let's see if it presented any day trade opportunities. British pound, right? So it might trade overnight, might trade through the London session. Decent trade last night on a short side, right? If you're looking at the 30-minute opening range, we have price leave the range, volume leave the range, decent short until we get into London where they start buying it. Here's London's open here. And from that point, what does the market say? Volume left the range to the other side, right? That purplish line there, if you can see that. This is what is the market's opinion since London opens, right? That's the way I'm reading this. Since the market opens, London's opinion is that we want to buy the British pound, even when we get whatever this crazy volatility is, which was on the CPI print. We come back down and check this range. Price comes back here, but volume's all the way up here. This is actually a really nice trade to take with your target not being up here. Conservative target on a trade like this, if I was to take this long, where we came back on a price basis, we came back to a range where the market found buyers initially. When we got down here, volume wasn't decreasing, and I could take a trade back up to VWAP conservatively. If buyers then step in and continue trading up above, then we make more money with them. But this looks like a nice trading market right now. Holding that 200 moving average on the 30-minute, coach. This looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think we could almost put the dollar index and probably look like the opposite of that.
Right.
but we don't get the dollar index. So um, to illustrate, we're talking in dollar terms.
Yep.
Dollar. It's so forex illiterate here. I, yeah, I understand. It's going up. That contract is going up. I want to own it. That contract is going down. Sometimes if that helps just to think that way. Whatever I'm trading, that so I don't have to think about the conversion factor.
Yep. Chart go up. Notice we didn't even quote a price when we were doing this, right? It's all about what the volume is saying in whatever market it is. Really, whatever market it is.
Oh,
Millionaire
you know what?
mindset.
Let's bring up the euro currency while we're at it.
Millionaire mindset. Just to clarify, what we've been calling a J trade is not making a new lower low. It's a reversal, right? It's a reversal. I was actually looking at some notes that I had um, yesterday on an old computer that I had, and there we have it broken down. I have it a 8 play playbook broken down, and it makes sense to me in my head. So I'm not going to share it yet because I don't know that it will make sense to everybody else the way I wrote it. But if I'm going to make it simpler, and I'll share it because there's 8 trades that I'm looking for based on volume. Um, and when I make it make sense to everybody else, then and we put some names behind them or something, then I'll share it. But Euro currency, coach, we're here on a daily.
Kind of looks like the British pound.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
So you could put up the Swiss franc and probably look much the same.
A little different, or maybe it has some catching up to do.
Maybe. Um, oh, interesting. Wouldn't have thought that. So we haven't talked about currencies lately because euro currency 80% of the time is just chop. So for for me, I don't like chop, but that doesn't mean I don't represent everyone. But there is some serious moves going on in the British pound and the euro currency. Good opportunities.
Opportunities, coach. Anything else on your scouting report? We do have a question here. Um, with the escalation in tariff wars, could this eventually lead to hiking interest rates? I'm going to throw that one to you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean, the, I I won't talk politics. I had a history teacher teach me once. A poly, a Greek word meaning many. Tick, blood-sucking creature. So none of this will works for analysis and trading, but a trade war can look at Canada did. They floated a bond in US dollars. I was just like, I don't know the size of it, but what that does is if there's the wars, it's literally a financial war. You could have other countries boycott US treasuries, which takes out um, buyers, which could could affect interest rates. So yeah, then it's the bottom line is it causes instability. And that's why we're having volatility in the equities. It's also happening in interest rates, currencies, gold, and silver, which should be the next um, thing we look at. But yeah, Smoot Hawley tariff. We've talked about that before.
yep.
It exacerbated the depression and it created unnecessary because it is a tariff is a tax. It's plain and simple. Someone's going to pay that price. It also upsets the natural flow of goods and services. Um, One of the things from an economic standpoint is when you have a large economy, you're going to have your trading partners are most likely going to have surpluses because you're the bigger economy. It's good being the biggest. So when we upset that balance, which has worked for 80 years, longer than I've been around, um, it creates a lot of instability. It exacerbates uncertainty. Um, the reason money flows into U.S. Treasuries because it's perceived as the most stable place to put money. So yeah, these are that's why I don't, stability. That's why you don't see what in the equities were absent large institutions. They're sitting in cash and T-bills. Probably the safest place to be, not bonds. And I could go down a rabbit hole here, but yeah, it's creating instability, exacerbating uncertainty, um, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. Myself, it's only all of a sudden, wait, you're right, we're not going to do this. I, I don't see it happening. But going back to as a trader, none of this, none of it is, in day trading is going to help me except for trading in the day and
Right,
managing my
trade the
risk.
day.
But
Seize
yes,
the day.
I know this, the volatility I don't believe is going away anytime soon for myself. Can it stay at this level? Maybe not. We could have a sharp break, but overall, I think that volatility is here for a while.
For sure. All right. Crypto student. Coach Jay, do you recommend copying all of my funded accounts together so I'm not forced to search for many good setups per day? I start to get a bit sloppy with entries due to loss of trade location later on in the day. It's a good question. If you can truly look at the accounts as trading just one account, right, and not uh, extrapolating results, because I think it's really good to focus on just trading one account so you can be accustomed to it, right? And I know in the copy trading era of trading that we're in right now, copy trade up to 20 accounts in certain places. It's a hey, I made $1, but I actually made 20 because I multiplied it by 20. Uh, I think it's really good to focus on how would I trade one account, right? Whether that's preparing yourself for a live account at Topstep or a your own personal brokerage account when you take payouts and put it there. So if you're trading really well and you can focus on just trading one account, I think yes, go ahead and copy trade them. I think that's probably a better decision than trying to manage trades in a bunch of different accounts and keep them all spinning at the same time, right? That's spinning a lot of plates. That's a lot of logistical changes that could cause errors in your trading. Uh, and also, I don't know how many accounts that you have that you're copying, but maybe you want to consider just having an account on the side just in case things don't go well, right? Maybe you don't trade it, you leave it for a little bit, and just in case things don't go well, you have a backup. Uh, but yeah, that's my opinion. What's your opinion on copy trading, coach?
Um, I'm neutral on it. Um, First of all, it depends where you are, what stage you're at in your trading journey. I think when you can enable yourself to be just to make money 2, 3 months in a row, then copy it, where you can leverage your decision making. But I don't think until you can prove your consistency in your trading, why leverage it?
Right.
So, you know, if you've if you have a proven system that you've been profitable 3 months in a row, all right, now you're just beginning. I mean, really, from experience and in being with Topstep for a while, you know, the consistency factor of being able to do that is not a very large percentage. So I think I like the idea in principle, right? But what if you haven't shown consistency? Why leverage it? But that's
Leveraging
my opinion.
you're multiplying inconsistency at that point, which can uh, throw your psychology all over the place,
Yeah,
right? Right. Do you go over silver, especially that Coach Paul has a silver trader in his VIP team? We don't
you
cover it too
lost your
much.
coach.
Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Check, check. Check. Quick sound check. Can you guys hear me? All right. They can hear me, Coach. All right. We don't go over silver often.
Hello.
Yeah, they can hear me, Coach Paul. I don't know why I'll be able to. We don't go over silver too often, but we'll take a quick look at it here. It is similar to gold, very similar to chart to gold right now, where we were in this consolidation trying to figure out where we were going. And we're back above that 200 moving average. We got a little bit of a pullback overnight. Um, Very similar chart to gold here. On a daily, we're above the 200 moving average. Looks like we're trending higher, but at the same time, we are at an area that has been a resistance. And I think a lot of the metals look this way, right? Platinum, I'm pretty sure looks very similar. Copper probably looks a little bit different, but we're at a level in silver that if we don't find some buyers, this is where we've rejected a couple of times. Right now, it's a zone. We don't know exactly what that price is going to be, but this general area from 3370s up to 34 half has been a resistance. We're going back to May of 2024. So interesting spot for silver. If we take a look at some of the other metals, um, platinum probably has a little bit more room to go to the upside. Uh, but interesting market for sure. Silver's a big contract. I would suggest anyone who's trading it trade micro silver. If they are trading it with top step accounts, just because it's $5 a tick instead of 25, it's very similar to the Nikkei. But we have micro silver that you can trade. Uh, Copper, very similar deal here in copper. This has been just a quick eye test, an area where we rejected before. We have traded higher than it last year. And copper's been putting up some pretty big days recently also, but I'd be thinking if I was long here, what happens in this area? We can see rejected once, twice, kind of three times from this area in the last year or so. Right? Coach, can you hear me now? Nope, I cannot hear you. Not getting any audio from you, Coach Paul. Lost Coach Paul's audio. Not sure why. I can see him there. I can see him in the green room. I'm not getting his feed. Uh, he's waving to us, but we're at time anyway. We're at time here. He just waved goodbye. Want to thank everyone for joining us today. Uh, we're gonna keep it together here. Trade well, manage your risk. We got some news coming out tomorrow. Coach, if I ask Coach Paul right now what his uh, if he had anything before we go, he would say trade small, manage your risk, and you don't have to trade in front of the news. And I'm going to echo that statement. Um, the markets have been presenting some really good opportunities, and I think now is a great time to be patient and wait for those opportunities to set up. Thank you everyone for joining. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button on the way out, and we'll talk to you all tomorrow. How long of consistent profitable trading do you recommend to feel comfortable to size up? Trade the same size at least. If you're consistent in your process, trade the same size for at least a quarter before you consider sizing up. And when you size up, if you're trading 4 micros, maybe add 1 or 2. Look at it quarterly though for consistent results. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end it there, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.